Good news, everyone! I have returned. Faketober, a challenge in the Fakemon community where people follow a list of prompts for the month of October. Now, while I could do something similar to my Variant July video, and be lonely like usual, I wanted to let other people add their 2 cents since this is a challenge in the Fakemon community after all that's more well known. Hence, me wanting to let the community in on a piece of the action. I am joined by 4 fantastic artists who honestly make me look like I suck so bad I should be standing on a street corner. So give them support using the links in the description, and I'll introduce them properly when they do make their appearance. Anyway, let's get into this. Starting with day 1, we have Sweet. This prompt was probably made because of Halloween. The list I'm using was created by CursedEyemon, like right here, so thank them for this and go show them some support. But anyway, this prompt was probably made because of Halloween, so making a sentient lollipop, that's rather on brand with Halloween, so you know, it checks out. Light has a very similar vibe to Vanillite, which wasn't intentional, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to run with it. Basically, it's a true convergent. I always get a little annoyed with people saying that Wiglet and Toadschool are convergents, because they're not. You see, convergent evolution is basically when one thing does the same exact thing evolutionarily as another thing, despite them not being related. A fantastic example is sharks and dolphins. They're both extremely similar and fill similar niches, but sharks are fish, dolphins are mammals. So, similar thing they do, but different background. Toadschool and Wiglet are just fake lookalikes. They don't fill the same niche, they just look similar. The Lawlite line here are a true convergent. Similar concept, no relation. The name is a mix of lolly, Australian slang for sweets that would later be adapted to lollipop, and light, as it's a very light floating thing. Also, just to make it sound more like Vanillite without the exact same spelling. It's a pure fairy type since, you know, sugary candy seems to be that in the Pokemon world. However, it's time for it to evolve. And to do so, we move on to day 2, Combo. Considering I was already going for the candy aspect, it wasn't exactly too difficult to have the candy melt. Candy like lollipops or Jolly Ranchers, they do tend to melt and stick together, and well, sometimes that's not very good. Though also, considering how most candy is just not good for people in general, and the fact that melting probably isn't a very pleasant process, Lolish here has the fairy poison type. Lolish is a mix of lolly and squish, you know, cause melted and squish, but also it sounds like vanillish, but it's not related. Convergent. And if you're wondering the similar niche it fills, it's basically just a sentient floating sweet treat. Vanillite is ice cream, Lawlite is a lollipop. Really simple. Also, I just skipped straight to 2 scoop Vanillux cause like, let's be honest, no one cares about Vanillish. And if you say you do, you're a liar. Also, you'll notice this line is Australian. You know, lolly, the slang. And what I like to do with Faketober, as well as make evolution lines throughout, is also I kind of like to give sneak peeks of some regions in my drafts that likely won't come out for a while. Ostana, an Australian-based region, being one of them. And this line fits in there. However, there's one more evolution. Vanillux is 3-stage line after all. We all know about the zombie virus trope, I mean, we've seen it a million times. Walking Dead, Last of Us, so on and so forth. Though the idea of a shambling, melted sugar mass that moves like a zombie was just too fun to pass up. The melted glob of sugar combined with the sticks of the lollipops make it seem like a zombie crawling out of the earth. The white sticks of the previous forms now serving as a stand-in for bones reaching up, clawing. And it's also partly why I went with the synthetic red 40 look for Lolinox. Because, well, it's not healthy. Its name is a mix of lolly and noxious. Not to be confused with nauseous, they're 2 different things. Noxious, nauseous. 2 different things. Basically, this giant glump of sugar is so high in sugar that basically just touching it will give you a sugar crash so bad it's basically a coma. Or it could just leave you extremely nauseous and make you want to throw up. Though noxious, the part of its name, means harmful, poisonous, or unpleasant. Basically all the things this mon is. And of course, still fairy poison type. Really though, I'm kind of disappointed that Galarian Wheezing is the only one with the fairy poison type because it's got so many more ways to use it. Also, if you're wondering why Ostana might be on the back burner for a while, it's because, well, first I've got to finish Managa, which if you want to see progress, go to Instagram. I'm uploading it on YouTube too, but it's kind of a process. Anyway, but also because it seems everyone and their mother wants to do an Australian region right now. I mean, I can think of 3 off the top of my head, and that's just like, well, you get my point. With this 3-stage done, let's just move on. Day 4 is elegant. Now, elegance probably doesn't mean what you think it does. The definition you probably envisioned was pristine nobility, or something delicate meant to be cherished. You see, elegance is described as something pleasingly graceful and stylish. That alone is fairly subjective, though, so I just went with the, stylish route. You know how in basically every bit of fantastical fantasy on the screen bullshit, there's always a girl with a pearl necklace on, and they're meant to be royalty or just some kind of upper class. I mean, that was kind of the easy way to go. Eleglace is meant to mimic a pearl necklace. Now, why did I pick a bug type for the task? Well, it's a bit of irony. A measly grub mimicking a symbol of high status just worked too well. Also, grubs have bodies that can be easily translated into pearls. The off-white coloration in the segments, to be specific. Also, the thought of just this tiny little worm acting so high and mighty. I just think it's very funny. But anyway, let's move on. For day 5, we had wings, which, Red Bull gives you wings. That wasn't the direction I went, but I probably would've. It's time for us to evolve Eleglace into Majestark. So, you see, the Monarch Butterfly. When most people make Monarch Butterfly-inspired Pokemon, they tend to do, well, Monarch Butterfly wings, but I took the name Monarch Butterfly and turned it into a Butterfly Monarch. Ta-da! Also, it is now Bug Psychic type, because it goes from being on the ground looking up at you, judging you, to in the air looking you eye to eye and seeing that, well, maybe there's more than what it originally thought. It's a psychic type more from self-discovery than it is some mystical power. Also, its wings are meant to mimic basically like a robe. Like, I don't know how to put it. You know, like those old-timey king gowns? It's like that. And of course, purple, because like synonymous with royalty, because purple dye was kind of difficult to come around. So, you know, pretty fun. But also, it kind of looks like an old lady a bit. That wasn't intentional, but like, I find it fun.
For our first guest speaker, let me introduce to you the regaliantly radiant Raidmon.
So, Ray had day 6, Cyberpunk. And I'd say they delivered, but they didn't really want to speak, and, well, I'm willing to accommodate that, because, you know, it'd be rude if I didn't. It's not rude to accommodate, it's rude not to accommodate for them, but you get my point. Anyway, to the thing. Ray did a regional Chimecho, which I really do like it. It looks really cool. So this regional form is Psychic Electric type, which, you know, Cyberpunk, I kind of expected electric or steel or something along those lines, so this is what I wanted, but more, which is never a bad thing. Well, I guess it can be a bad thing, because there is a point where it gets too much, but this is not that point. It's good, it's great.
Cyberpunk.
This Pokemon is based on the Cyberpunk theme, and drones in general, you know? It's basically a little music drone. It follows the trainer blasting music, which I do assume could probably get a tad bit annoying at times, but what are they gonna do? Its attacks are different depending on the music they're playing. So basically, rock music, rock, I'm assuming hard metal or metal in general would be steel. And then like country, ground, grass, whatever you want. Like if you want to, assign them in the comments, but basically different music, different type. Also, it's got the Wi-Fi internet symbol stuff all over it, because, you know, cyberpunk. I always love the cute little stupid round things. And it's also like the perfect bit of mischievous. It's just like, yes, I know, I'm following you, you know, yeah. And then just in the background, oh my god, I made my choice. Like you're trying to sneak up on a Pokemon, get like, haha, I've got it. I've snuck up on you. You will not escape me. And then just all of a sudden in the background, radioactive, radioactive. Whoa, whoa. Like just in the background, just all of a sudden, just immediately what you're trying to catch snaps its head to you and you're just like, okay, we're doing this now. It is the perfect little round inconvenience. Ray, fantastic. Could not have asked for anything better. Also, the eyes, what's it called? Heterochromia? I think that's it. 2 separate eye colors? Whatever. I like it. Now, moving on to day 7. Bottle. There's a million ways you could do this, but I just went the traditional message in a bottle. And we already have a beverage containing Pokemon. Or at least a contained beverage? I'm not really sure the correct wording. Anyway, Poltergeist, or let's be honest, it's very confusing and I don't care enough to figure it out. I don't know if this is convergent, or, well, not a convergent, but a regional fake. I don't know if it's a regional fake, I don't know if it's a regional variant, but it's something. Shoregeist from Poltergeist and Shore. You know, a message in a bottle goes up on the shore and then, well, you read it. But in this case, the bottle has another visitor. Also, I get like, Moo Milk doesn't come in this kind of bottle, but screw it, I'm doing what I want. And items can change sprite. It's not like they're set in stone. Of course, ghost water type, because like, you know, message in a bottle out to sea and then goes up on shore. But, like the other variants, or fakes, it evolves. Day 8. Melody. Radioactive shrimp from Walmart. Anyway, Cyrageist. From Siren, Wave, and Poltergeist. Stillwater Ghost, of course, or Ghost Water, whichever one I said, but you catch my drift. It is now based on sirens. Basically, they sing and try to lure you somewhere, and well, if you fall for it, you're not being found. Sorry, bye-bye. Though, the reason I did this is because there was something very interesting I could do. So you'll probably notice the bottle is completely broken, right? The tail of the siren coming out the back, and, well, the ghost main body coming out in front. Where'd the message go? Well, if you look inside of Cyrageist's mouth, there's the message. Instead of the bottle that washed up having its message read, Cyrageist will now take that message and project it for all to hear. And if you're the person that wrote that message, you will be drawn to it. Because it's your message being played back to you. Surely that's something. Surely it means something. But once you get to where that's coming from, bye-bye soul. I'm so surprised we haven't had someone do, like, message in a bottle becoming a siren yet, because, like, both are oceanic, both are quite common in fantasy. Like, I felt this was a no-brainer. Also, like, you write music, you write notes. I just don't get how this hasn't been done yet. And then here's where I learned from the comments that someone did this, like, way better than me and are way more famous than me. And then I'm just saying this and looking stupid. What'd you say? Say? I make a complete fool? I didn't win? Oh. Anyway.
As our second guest entry, allow me to introduce the superiorly splendid TheSadMando.
Explosion. Which, as I said, was done by the unapologetically British TheSadMando. Now, what you might know Mando for is a Fortnite-based region, which I don't know much about it, but to each his own. I actually do have some stuff pre-typed here from Mando, because he didn't actually have time to record. And, as I said, I'm willing to make accommodations. So I'm reading off of a script he gave me because he was going to record, but just didn't have the time. He decided that for prompt number 9, Explosion, he wanted to make some convergent species of Pumpkaboo and Gorgeist. Now he says convergent, I say regional fake, but differences to each his own. And their names are Pumpkaboom and Gorgon Powder. But like not Gorgon, but Gorgon. Like Gorgon sisters, you know, like Medusa, but not that. It's a play on gunpowder. You get what I mean. These two are inspired by jack-o'-lanterns, naturally. But remember when I mentioned he was pretty intertwined with Fortnite? Well, the pumpkin launcher is something from Fortnite, so there you go. And I probably should have waited to tell you what he's known for, because in the script it says, a recurring theme which you'll probably notice with my other two prompts is that they are in some way inspired by Fortnite, since I am in the process of making my own region inspired by the game. Yeah, I really should have waited. Anyway, these two were rather easy to make conceptually, but it took him a few tries with Gorgon Powder to get a good look that he enjoyed. He does think the end result was well worth it, which I do agree. They definitely look great. They're fire and ghost type, which is handy since the convergent species are usually super effective against their previous forms. Once again, he says convergent, I say fake, to each his own. But he is not wrong. Toadschool to Tentacruel, Wiglet to Diglett, Sinischa to Sinistea, but that's kind of weird because Ghost is super effective against itself. But just all that to say, he's not wrong. And to read the dex entry, Pumpkaboom come from a distant region where they are fueled by constant spite and hatred towards trainers of any level. They will seek opponents to fight and will constantly attempt to blow them up. Gorgon Powder evolves after it has successfully blown up a select number of enemies. It can launch the pumpkin on its torso off to attack enemies at greater ranges, which can make them a very difficult Pokemon to fight. I really do like these ones, and I'll be honest, the shinies are really great. What is it with people always making great shinies? Now I feel bad I didn't provide any. You know what, my jealousy it's getting too much, we'll move on.
For this third guest entry, allow me to introduce the truly terrific Turquoise Rubbles.
So, for Robble's part of the video, they didn't really want to talk much. For whatever reason, that's their own thing. I'm fully willing to accommodate that, so I'm gonna talk on their behalf. So first up, Robbles had Mimic, day 10. So making a humanoid design it's rather logical. There's an entire egg group of human-like Pokemon. So one that mimics a human is perfectly reasonable. Wimitate, whimsically imitate. A very dark type, for a reason you might be able to pick up through the image. You know, if you see that pretty little veiled form right there? Yeah? Anyway, Robbles is pretty well known for his YouTuber to Fakemon stuff, but their other stuff is incredibly impressive as well, so do check them out, they are incredible. And don't worry, this design does pop up again later, of course. I mentioned the form thing. Very interesting. I'm actually very pleased someone did that, because that's very unique and you don't really see that often. As for its statistics, Wimitate is very defensive in its veiled form, which is quite reasonable. Also, can I just mention, the hair is phenomenal. Like, the texture, like, absolute chef's kiss, this is fantastic. Like, absolute chef's kiss, this is fantastic. I am so happy Robbles decided to join in on this, because fantastic. Like, finding the words to describe it is difficult, but like, it's awesome. Day 11. Tiny. Now, there's a million and one things I could do here. I absolutely adore the tiny little designs. The little gremlins, as I put it. Tinkaton, fantastic, glorious, tiny little gremlin. Everybody loves it. Everybody knows we love Tinkaton. It's adorable. Knocks him out of the air, knocks him out of the air. Puts him grounded, puts him grounded. Vacuity, but it's spelled with two O's like moo. Vacuity, Vacuity, because it's Vaquita, moo, and cutie. Because, well, Vaquita are the smallest existing porpoise, which, you know, Smallest existing porpoise. Kind of fit really well for tiny. And as for why I said, well, moo as part of its name, Vaquita actually translates to little cow. So, yeah, it is a little cow. But it's dragon water type, so why is that? Well, it's the other reason it's the tiny category. You see, Vaquita are critically endangered. If I remember, at one point in time, in recent history, their population was down to 10. Like, you could count the amount of remaining Vaquita on 2 hands. That is absurd. I guarantee you can probably find more bugs in your house than 10. And they're not supposed to be there. So the Vaquita is tiny and rare. It's small with a small population. They're basically a living treasure. Something that if you see it, it's very special. So its rarity is kind of why I gave it the dragon type. Also, because I think we need more cute dragons. Everyone's so focused on the big old powerful ones, but like, why not give us some cute ones? But yeah, it's just a shame this little cow might not make it. I really want it to, but its chances are looking pretty slim. Anyway, let's move on.
Next up on the list, another Ray. Day 12 was extinction. You know, kind of funny, Ray ended up getting day 6 and day 12. Huh. Well, anyway, I'm surprised it took us this long to get to this, but a mega evolution. Specifically, I think its name is Cursula? Yeah, Cursula. Okay, I'm saying that right. Look, I'm sorry, I just don't interact with Cursula much in my daily life. But either way, Ray did a fantastic job with this mega. As I said earlier, I'm actually kind of surprised it took this long to give us a mega. With ZA and everything, I kind of expected it to be like one of the first things. But I guess we all just kind of forgot. Congratulations, Ray. Completely unique. And you did a fantastic job, because, like, legitimately awesome. And the shiny having, like, the rainbow energy spectral stuff, you've actually left me at a lack of words, which is very impressive because I talk a lot. Anyway, now on to the information I have been given. Mega Cursula. This Pokemon is fused with the dead coral encasing it, and now uses it to scare away the humans that took its life and home. It resembles not only dead corals, but also scary faces and gas. This Pokemon could calm down angry spirits if those who lose their homes in the sea, and they live within this cursed Pokemon. Also, I didn't know it wasn't already Ghost Rock. I thought it was Ghost Rock already, but I guess it was just pure Ghost. I didn't know that until Ray brought that to my attention. Also, as you probably see in the speed paint, Mega Cursula has little ghost fishes around it, and then that was changed and altered and given the final design, which is actually really great. And if you're wondering how this pertains to extinction, well, there's this, fun little debated thing. The Holocene extinction, also referred to as the Anthropocene extinction. It's a 6 mass extinction event. It's ongoing and it's caused by exclusively human actions during the Holocene epoch. Contributed to extinctions like the dodo bird, Tasmanian tiger, great auk, and so many more. And it's believed that widespread degradation of biodiversity hotspots, you know, coral reefs, rainforests, those kind of things, basically destroying them, advertently or not, has basically sped things up. Yeah, so, a dead coral Pokemon definitely works for extinction. And if you're curious what counts as a mass extinction, it is the loss of at least 75% of species within a geologically short period of time. Basically, less than 2 million years. Which, to someone who's TikTok-brained, might sound like a long time. In the great span of Earth, that is the equivalent of a 1-minute YouTube short. And as I said, it's like a current thing. It's like, it's actually happening. Ray, you have made a Mon that is already dead Mega Evolve to represent a literal mass extinction event. That is absolutely genius. I don't care if it was intentional or not, you did it. Take the credit, cause round of applause, because I did not think that was possible. And like the eye, the mouth, the tail, it is Once again, you have gotten a blabbermouth to shut up. That is impressive. I am so glad you agreed to show up to this because, as I said in the intro, you make me look like I suck so bad I belong on a street corner.
Day 13, we're back to Mando. So, Demon. This time, remember, reading from a script, he was going for a regional Necrozma, which, gotta be honest, I don't think I've seen that. He thought it would be a cool twist on an already pretty cool legendary. The only main inspiration is Shogun X, a boss character within Fortnite which is fairly recent, introduced in the first season of Chapter 6. But he thought since Shogun X commands demons from the spirit realm, it could make for an interesting regional Necrozma, since Necrozma seems to command the Ultra Beasts in the Ultra games. His thoughts on the design are that it is interesting because of its unconventional shapes and a design that already is rather geometric, but he thinks thematically it works really nicely, which I have to agree. Once again, having an actual script to read off of here is like, it definitely helps. And this Necrozma, rather than being Psychic type, is Dark type, because, you know, kinda checks out. This version of Necrozma seems to have appeared from a different dimension, not that of an Ultra Wormhole. Me personally, I kind of hope it would be like the, what's Giratina's thing? Distortion World. I think that would be very interesting. But back to the decks, it controls an army of demonic Pokemon, though none seem to have been identified. It can drain the life energy from any being and use it as both fuel and a weapon. Basically just taking Necrozma and basically just making it the energy vampire Pokemon wanted it to be. Really hit the head on the nail, honestly. Wait, hit the nail on the head. Sorry, my bad. For day 14 and 15, we actually had counterparts. So, they're of course counterparts, so they're both gonna be done by me. Starting off, we have Camelectric, an electric chameleon. I felt that was pretty obvious. However, it's also based on cord reels. Basically, they're these wheels that people who utilize cords and wires use to help roll up the cords and wires so they don't have to do it all manually. Its little copper coloration is, well, tied to that. Coloration of wires and all that. It's just a small little guy, but the small little guys are sometimes good. It's just a small little chameleon, but it doesn't really have to be anything more. I imagine if it was ever voiced, it would just be bleh. Like nothing else, just bleh. And of course, if we have a chameleon with a plug that drains electricity, we have to have something for it to drain electricity from. Day 15 for counterpart 2 is Batabug, a battery bug. Of course, there's Charge-a-Bug, but that's like a vehicle battery or like a square battery. This one's like a cylinder? Yeah, electric bug, but you see where I'm coming from. It's got the little fly eyes. I mean, if I made a chameleon, I kind of had to make a bug. I feel like that's just common sense. Also, the little jagged mouth bit, it might seem a little odd, but I think it works well. Maybe that's just me trying to justify my design, but, you know, I find it good. And, like, it's a little goofball design. It's not really anything special. Also, like, fly goes zzz, electricity, bzzz. Like, okay, I know it's kind of weak, but it works. Day 16, Dream. Once again, this is one of Robble's entries, which is why I'm talking about it, but as I said, I'm willing to accommodate, like that would just be rude if I didn't. We're back at it with Wimitate, but this time, we peek beneath the veil. You could even say we pierce the veil. Well, Wimitate's the one that does the piercing, but the little wreath becoming antenna almost, great touch. The eye popping open, the dress becoming a maw. It is, I just gotta say, it's great. Because, like, it's a dream. It's fantastic, right? Whoever said dreams had to be good? And when it unveils, it goes from being a mimic to actually displaying what's underneath. Very mimic-esque, but only doing so in your dreams because, you know, Freddy Krueger kind of style. As someone who does, like, evolution lines through Faketober, yeah, I absolutely love this. This is perfect. It's exactly what everyone would want. I implore creativity, and, like, this is exactly the kind of stuff I like to see. Robbles, you really knocked it out of the park. Also, now's a good time to talk about its ability because it's actually very unique. So, in its veiled form, its ability is Veiled Form, which its signature ability when Wimitate uses a status move, its stats change, and it must use a physical or special move to switch to the unveiled form. Then, vice versa, in its unveiled form, its ability is Unveiled Form, where, when it uses a physical or special move, its stats change, though it has to use a status move to go back to the veiled form. Form changes are always interesting, like Zen Mode Darmanitan, so to see this is great. And the complete dichotomy, being able to take something so humanoid and turn it into something so monstrous, is fantastic. You can almost see one is human, one is creature, because if you look at the unveiled form, the arms and the chest look like eyes and ears, making it seem like a whole nother creature. It's absolutely fantastic, and I am so glad I decided to reach out to Robbles, and that Robbles accepted, because this is chef's kiss. And because it's meant to be a bit of a fae, and of course, a mimic needs something to trick, this Pokemon appears in the dreams of people attracted to women. Doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl, if you find them attractive, you're a victim. With its body resembling a human woman, it traps the person in a dream and consumes them. It's a very dark dex entry, but it's dark type, it makes sense. Cold. We are braving the cold. But yeah, this is a Mando prompt again. As I said, he was gonna record, but didn't have the time, so I'm stepping in with a script he made. It's written in first person for him, but I'm having to do it in third person, so cut me some slack if I make a few mistakes. Now, Cold is actually his favorite of the three, in which he decided to take the opportunity to create a regional Kingambit. It's one of Mando's favorite Gen 9 Pokemon, and turning it from a Kaiser to a King, specifically the Ice King. Not the Adventure Time version, the Fortnite version. Rather than make the whole line regional forms, he decided to make a split regional Evo, and honestly I have no problem with that. I wanted people to do whatever they wanted, so they took the chance. Also, if I'm reading this correctly, it took only one attempt to make it right, which pretty impressive. And he does admit he's biased, but he thinks this is his best design out of the four. And I don't know, I really do like the Pumpkaboo. He also thanks me for inviting him, but honestly, thank you for accepting, because quite honestly, if no one accepts the invitation, I do it alone. Which is, well, I've done it in the past, but it's more fun with people. You did an incredible job, Mando. This version of Kingambit is Ice Fighting, which honestly, cool type combination. For its dex, this form of Kingambit rules its kingdom with a cold, icy feast. If any trespassers encounter its frozen domain, it will command its army of Poniard and Bisharp to go and remove them. If they somehow fail, it will deal with the intruder using brutal force. And just as a little additive, this one evolves from Bisharp after defeating 25 Cryogonal. I just think it's very fun that Mando gave Cryogonal a usage, despite it just being, well, a genderless Pokemon that can learn to tract. Now, for day 18, this is actually the end of a 3-stage line, with day 16, which was Dream, and day 17, which was Cold. So all of these fit together pretty well. This is Hogdrazard. Don't worry, no relation to Charizard, we don't do that here. Not yet, at least. Basically, Dream, Cold, Summon. I'll explain this first because, why does a hedgehog have Yggdrasil on its back? Well, that goes back to day 16. You see, for Dream, I wanted a very, let's just say, I wanted a Hibernator. But not something like a bear, I wanted a real Hibernator. Which led me to hedgehogs, because they enter a state of torpor, which is basically their body slows down, like a lot. Their body just slows down, and some owners, when their hedgehog enters hibernation, have trouble knowing if it's alive or dead. So, it kind of fit really well for Dream, because if you're in that deep a sleep, yeah. But also Cold. Hedgehogs, when they hibernate, drop their body temperature because it helps conserve energy and it's not really needed. So, there you go, there's Cold. And as for why Yggdrasil is on the back of a hedgehog, on the back of a grass ice hedgehog at that? Well, you see, when hedgehogs enter hibernation, they make little dens. And, well, one of the places they can make them is under the roots of trees. And for summon, I had the idea of a giant wizard tower that was a tree. And it just happens that Yggdrasil is a very magical tree with 3 commonly associated animals, and technically 4 if you count the squirrel, so it worked really well. So now it just is a walking hedgehog with a giant tree on its back, and each level of that tree has a different summon of a certain animal. A snake, a stag, and an eagle. Ironically enough, all 3 animals that a hedgehog would be terrified of.
Now, for the 4th guest entry, allow me to introduce the magnificently masterful MrCryandCheat.
So, CryandCheat actually had 3 days all in a row. Just like Mando, he was going to record, but time was not on his side. So, welcome again, me, voiceover time. For hobby, he created Surprise, a fairy type that obviously has some Jack-in-the-Box inspirations. Though I'd also imagine it's kind of a collection kind of thing. And, as a mischievous little fairy, Surprise likes to spook. You know, pretty fitting for Halloween. I gotta be honest, CryandCheat, did you really have to show me up this much? Like, the eyes, man. The shading? You did it better than me on my own video. Nah, but in all seriousness, I really do like the idea. It's a little cardboard Jack-in-the-Box that goofs around, has some fun. Perfectly fitting for Halloween, and perfectly fitting for a little fairy gremlin that collects items and pretends to be items to scare collectors. Also, it looks like one of those little wind-up toys from I forget when they were popular. But you know what I mean. Next up on the list with day 20 is Panzizi, a normal electric type. I can only assume it's based on howler monkeys as well as DJs. And its name, Panzizi. Not only does it got that electric stuff I mentioned for my own day 15, but it kind of you know, like the record on the turntable makes that kind of sound. Perfect. Also, the little pose is just, it's great. I don't have any other words. I'm always so impressed by the shading that CryandCheat does, because I think now I know a little bit more about it, but this man is just ahead of the curve. Seriously, check this guy out. He is really impressive. And of course, because it's a howler monkey, it's a DJ who loves to yell. Then for his final of the 3, Snailian. Once again, little round things. Love them. Little round mischievous things. Perfection. Look at that grin. You know he's on nefarious timing. A bug steel type because, well, snail. Chip. I feel like if you don't get that, that's kind of on you. Also, I'm not sure if it's intentional, but the little fade to the eye stalks, was that made specifically for parasites? I don't, is it a reference to that one eye parasite? Because, when slugs and snails have that, they look kind of alien. I'm not sure if that's an inspiration or not, but I think it probably is. One of the reasons I'm not too certain about what he meant with these designs, he did them in 4 hours before the deadline of this video, because, apparently my messages of, how do you want to do this didn't come through. So he had accepted, but then just didn't get any of the messages afterwards until, the day before. So, he cooked these up in 4 hours. Once again, seriously, show that guy some appreciation, because, I was fully willing to just say, give me one design, just so you're not left out, because I would not want that. And he just went, nah, I'd cook. I was willing to just say, do what you can, and you went beyond. Thank you for accepting and doing this on such short notice. Genuinely. For day 22, we have another Robbles design. Now, if you are here from Robbles, you probably do know that this isn't exactly a brand new design. And I never said it had to be. I just said that the artist needed something that fits the day, because why would I try to limit creativity? So if they give me something that they've already done that fits, that's fine. Boss Toad really does fit Fairy Core. Fairy Core is all about small, little, dainty, basically nature vibe. As someone who has seen Fairy Core in action, they like to collect little ceramic mushroom houses and stuff like that, and well, little toads fit right in along with sprites and spirits and fae and all that, so it really does fit pretty well. Also, it's pink and like a pastel-y kind of pink too, so like, yeah, that also works. And remember when I said you would know Robbles probably from his turning YouTubers to Pokemon? This is that. This is Pastaroni Ravioli, but Pokemon. It just so happens that this design fit pretty darn well with Fairy Core. Also, pasta, girl, you got it. Keep doing what you're doing. It works. You're good. You got it. Do what you gotta do. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about anyone else. Just do what you gotta do. You're doing great. You got it. Once again, glad to have you on here, Robbles. You were really great at this. Gotta be honest. Fantastic. If I try to say anything negative, it would be forced, because I can't find a negative. Nice, polite, good at designs. Hit the nail on the head. Fairy grass type and like fairy core. I'm gonna be honest, my description of Fairy Core for Faketober was literally just like, if it's fairy, it's a go. But Robbles went a step beyond and said, you know what? I'm making it fit the aesthetic. Or at least I'm gonna find something that fits the aesthetic. So, went above and beyond. Literally, took expectations, shot them through the roof. Can't complain. If I did, it'd be forced. Seriously, y'all. Quit sleeping on them. Go check them out. I hear they're more active on TikTok than they are Instagram, but check out both. Because, honestly, deserves it.
For day 23, we have flat. Now, I could have done plenty of things, but remember when I mentioned that Ostana was a region in my backdrafts that I said, you know what, I'll show a few designs? This is one of them. Ostanian Mantine. It's based on fairy bread, but also there has been a pink manta ray sighted at the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. It's only been spotted, I think, once, but the point is, there's a pink manta ray. But how? Well, if I had to guess, this manta ray likely has erythrism. It's basically an overproduction of the pigment that causes red. Basically, you know how red hair? Basically it's that. It's just the red pigment goes into overdrive. There's leucism and melanism, so it's not exclusive by any means, but it is very unique because, well, it's a manta ray. And it's entirely possible it's not erythrism, but something to do with its diet. That's the thing, it's just whimsical, interesting, perfect for a fairy type. But also it's flat like bread, so fairy bread, hence a water fairy type. And yes, day 22 for me, Fairy Core was Ostanian Mantike. So yes. But anyway, one of the things I wanted to do with Astana is wait, because seriously, I can think of 3 Australian regions going on right now, just off the top of my head. But another reason is, I kind of wanted to do something unique with it. Like a region battle where 3 people at the same time present a region. Basically 3 people have the same area that they have to make a region on, and then each video they explain one line from their region and then the community votes. I feel that would be something very interesting, and if you want to do it. But I just really want to do that, but then again, it's a lot of dedication, so probably not gonna happen, but it's what I want to happen, but it's probably not gonna happen. Anyway, moving on. This one could fit in Ostana, but it's not in Ostana, it's just something I did. Day 24, spikes. I did an echidna. Come on, they're cute little freaks that have a bunch of spikes. It was kind of a layup. But then, also, it's pure normal type, because, well, it's just an echidna. Echidnid. Echidna. Kid. I mean, if I have to explain it past that, that's kind of on you. But the reason it's kind of bland is because it evolves on day 25. Mysterious. So, Monstidna, a monstrous echidna. Because the echidna animal shares its name with the queen of monsters, mother of monsters? I don't exactly know how it's said. But basically, it shares a name with the Greek monster mother, Echidna. So, an echidna, the animal, becoming Echidna, the goddess, or I guess monster queen? Whatever. It just kind of made sense and was really fun play on words. Also, it's got a little head spike thing, because why not? It gives me big ol' why I order. You know, like the really old Popeye where it's just like, you, I'ma get you. Like, come on. It's a little funny. This is definitely one of those goofier designs, but I like it. So, whatever.
Energy. Energy.
There's a lot of things I could do. However, there is a mon that's kind of really forgettable that I want to give a bit of love to. Boltund is just really forgotten. Like, let's be honest. People, of course, know Yamper because, you know, cute little dog. Everyone's gonna like it. But when it comes to Boltund, not only is it not very unique or memorable, it's also just not good. Like, it closely resembles a greyhound, but not really. It's basically just a mix. So I wanted to make it a little more unique and lean into the greyhound aspect. Luck sound. And electric type. Just pure electric, because why not? It's sleek, aerodynamic, ready for combat. And it's got a little dog collar with like a little plasma thing, because why not? It's perfect. Honestly, Boltund's colors were already kind of segmented perfectly for this design, so I really didn't have to change the colors all too much. They were pretty much already perfectly fine. Also, I kind of made it sort of robotic in a sense, really only because, well, Greyhound bus. I mean, we're all talking about speed here, so why not? Honestly, my whole goal with this was to kind of say, okay, Boltund, no one likes you, you're forgettable, piss off, and then change that into, you know what? You're a middle stage now, so your forgettability is warranted. Maybe that's just my opinion on Boltund, but like, it goes from Yamper, something cute and memorable, cause Corgi, into generic dog number 2. So I hope Fluxzone can, well, hopefully bring that back and make it a little more memorable.
Warrior. Stand proud, men, it is time. We are warriors.
Yeah, warrior. So this one, this was honestly the toughest one, which is kind of weird to say. Like, out of the entire month, I did not expect warrior to be the hardest. But it actually was, because I didn't know what I wanted for warrior, and there was just too many options. But I was already doing research on Maui from Polynesia, and, well, it fit pretty dang well. Maui has a ton of myths about him where he basically says F you to the gods and helps the humans. So adding a bit of his inspiration here definitely does check out, because I definitely call him a warrior. I mean, going on an entire trek to get fire from a fire goddess, putting that fire from the fire goddess out until she has no fire left, and then teaching humans how to make fire. Like, he's basically Polynesian Hercules. Or actually, Hercules is Greece Maui? Actually, well, Heracles is Greek Maui, but Hercules is Roman Maui? Huh. Anyway, I also decided to mix it with a marlin, because, you know, swordfish, warrior, hiya! Swordfish, sword, slice, 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 warrior. Like, it works. It might not be the most impressive of this video, but I'm perfectly happy with it, so. But in all seriousness, I really do like this design, because it's honestly pretty cool. And of course, water fighting, because warrior, duh. Day 28, Eclipse. With it being like, you know, space, whatever, I went alien. Okay, I get it, but alien. Look, it's space, it's eclipse, I'm gonna take it. But also, eclipse is like moon and the sun, so I need something that crosses over, representing both the moon and the sun. What about plants that bloom in the night? Because typically, when you think of a flower blooming, you'd think bright daylight. But there are some that bloom at night. So, Philadelphus, a genus of about 60 species of shrubs. However, they are nicknamed mock orange, a reference to their flowers, which in wild species look similar to those of oranges and lemons at first glance. But also, mock oranges have been known to be used as areas for some moths and butterflies to have their larvae. So, a little alien sitting inside a mock orange plant works pretty well. Also, grass psychic because, like, you know, space and plants. Easy combo. Speaking of combos, day 29. Plant. Calm Bloom. Calm Bloom. Basically, Eklian does the, Doug Trio Magnemite thing when it evolves. There's just more of them. Not only because, like, of course, mock oranges, they grow together because, you know, that's where they are. But also because, like, when it comes to the trope of aliens being on Earth, like, one shows up, then they go tell others, and others show up. Like, it starts with someone showing up, and then, oh, this planet, we could invade it. And then, nyong, ton of others. But also, since it's playing on the whole moonlight aspect that it was previously, they look like they're controlling it. Like, the stamen? I think it's stamen of the flower is like little control panel, but it's not. I just think it's cute. Day 30. Reflection. And the final stage of the line, Lumiose, a light manipulating, blooming alien. Now there's 4 of them, and the 2 on the sides are acting as arms. However, they also have, textures? They have reflective stones, because the day's reflection, and they use these reflective stones to fire out beams of moonlight. And I don't know if I stated it, but Lumiose evolves from Calm Bloom by giving it a moonstone, because, well, obviously. So it's a plant that blooms at night, then holds its luminous reflecting hands up to reflect moonlight to use as an attack, and it evolved with a moonstone. I don't know, I think this all did come together really well. Then, day 31 was a free prompt, where we could basically do whatever we wanted. So, that's what I did. This is Devilil, based on the Jersey Devil, and the fact that its whole lore is, it was the 13th child of a woman who didn't want that 13th child. She popped it out, the child was a monster. So, it's a little baby monster. Quite literally a translation of the Jersey Devil. Just made a little cutified, because, you know, Pokemon. And no evolution. Because the Jersey Devil's whole thing is that it was a cursed child. That's it. Why would I evolve it and take it away from its origin story? Yeah, so anyway, that's Faketober. I do honestly plan to do a little bit more at some point. I would not be opposed to doing this next year with other people, or even just inviting other people to other potential collaborations. The community supports each other after all. That's what we're supposed to do. Anyway, this is Jay, signing away. Forever and always. Bye-bye.